Mistress sends pregnant wife to the hospital. Millionaire husband gets revenge and destroys her reputation. A swirl of champagne glasses and glittering chandeliers set the stage for what appears to be a perfect evening among the city's elite. Standing at the center is Audrey Mahoney, elegant, pregnant, and unaware of the dark intentions simmering close by. Her husband, millionaire real estate magnate Kenneth Mahoney, proudly holds her arm, the two radiating an aura of marital bliss. But in a shadowed corner, another woman watches with envy blazing in her eyes, a mistress plotting her own rise to wealth and power. In a single, terrifying moment, Audrey's world will be rocked, and from that devastation, Kenneth's thirst for revenge ignites. The lavish foyer of the Mahoney mansion brimmed with influential guests, from corporate tycoons to up-and-coming entrepreneurs. Dark mahogany floors glimmered under crystal chandeliers, while live violin music drifted through the air. Kenneth Mahoney, tall and broad-shouldered, flashed his gracious smile at each person who stepped through the grand double doors. As CEO of Mahoney Real Estate Holdings, he exuded confidence shaped by years of successfully brokering multi-million-dollar property deals. His wife, Audrey Mahoney, glowing at 7 months pregnant, stood by his side. Dressed in a flowing midnight blue gown that showcased her baby bump, Audrey greeted visitors with warmth and humility. For all her understated grace, she carried the poise of an heiress and the kindness of a woman who valued genuine connection over social climbing. Just behind the receiving line, meticulously taking note of every detail, was Bianca Alcott, Kenneth's new consultant with a keen eye for business branding. Bianca, with her sleek auburn hair and a figure-hugging crimson dress, blended into the crowd with practiced ease. Few realized that beneath her polished smile, she eyed Audrey's position with cold determination. The more she observed Audrey's effortless rapport with guests, the more convinced she became that Audrey was a fragile obstacle to be removed, not a queen to be admired. At first, Bianca's role in Kenneth's life seemed strictly professional. He had hired her 6 months earlier to rebrand a series of commercial complexes in Redwood City. Her marketing prowess was undeniable, and her results had elevated several properties to near-instant success. Kenneth, keen on further expansion, welcomed her insight. Audrey, trusting her husband's judgment, had shown polite interest but kept a cautious eye on this new advisor. Throughout the evening, the dining hall buzzed with conversation about Kenneth's latest acquisitions. Photographers from local publications like the Bay Area Business Chronicle circulated, snapping pictures of the city's elite. Reporters angled for interviews with Kenneth, who graciously offered statements about modernizing Redwood City's skyline and sustainable development. Meanwhile, Audrey's best friend, Rebecca Farnsworth, a discreet and loyal confidant from her college days, hovered protectively. Rebecca had never fully trusted Bianca's too-perfect veneer. Toward the end of dinner, after hours of socializing and smiling for cameras, Audrey excused herself to freshen up. She slipped away, navigating the mansion's corridors lined with contemporary artwork. Bianca, ever watchful, seized the opportunity. Catching Kenneth alone near the dessert table, she leaned in with a conspiratorial grin. "You're the talk of Redwood City, Kenneth," Bianca murmured, swirling the champagne in her glass. "Everyone wants in on your next project. Congratulations." Kenneth nodded, but something in her tone made him uneasy. "Thank you, Bianca, and thank you for your hard work." Her manicured nails lightly grazed his cufflink as she stepped closer. "It's my pleasure. I look forward to expanding our partnership." The moment felt charged, too intimate for Kenneth's comfort. He cleared his throat, stepping back, his gaze darting around to ensure no one had noticed. He attributed the flutter of disquiet in his gut to the stress of hosting a major event, yet somewhere deep inside, A warning bell sounded. Audrey, returning from the powder room, spotted them from a distance. Bianca's posture, angled toward Kenneth, struck Audrey as a bit too familiar. Even so, Audrey dismissed the notion of impropriety. She was confident in her marriage. After all, trust was their cornerstone. As the party wound down and goodbyes were exchanged, Audrey felt an odd sense of fatigue, heavier than usual. Kenneth wrapped a supportive arm around her, ushering her gently to their bedroom. Unbeknownst to them, Bianca lingered in the foyer, glancing upward to where their lights shone, her eyes narrowing with envy. For her, the evening's success was only one step closer to claiming the life she believed she deserved. Quiet finally descended on the mansion, but the seeds of disruption had been planted. In the hush of the night, Audrey drifted off to sleep, blissfully unaware of Bianca's rising ambition and the sinister path it would carve. As Kenneth turned off the bedroom lamp, he vowed to protect Audrey and their unborn child from any harm. Little did he suspect that the greatest danger was already inside their very home, disguised behind a brilliant smile and cunning intellect. Bright morning light spilled through the sheer curtains of the mahogany master suite. Audrey stretched carefully, mindful of her growing belly. Kenneth was already gone, tending to an early meeting downtown. On the bedside table lay a handwritten note. "Had to step out early, love. Breakfast is waiting for you. Call me if you need anything." Smiling, she touched the note, feeling grateful for his thoughtfulness. Downstairs, the household staff moved quietly, setting out fruit salad and freshly squeezed juice. Audrey's friend, Rebecca Farnsworth, dropped by, breezing in with a warm hug. They settled at the kitchen table, sipping tea. "How are you feeling today, Aud?" Rebecca asked. "You looked radiant last night, but I could tell something was bothering you." Audrey sighed, her gaze drifting to the large windows overlooking the rose garden. "I can't put my finger on it. Just something about Bianca. She's so talented, but there's an intensity to her that feels off. Or maybe I'm overthinking it. The pregnancy hormones have me second-guessing everything." Rebecca offered a knowing smile. "Your instincts are usually spot on, though. Stay alert." While Audrey and Rebecca chatted, Bianca stood in Kenneth's office downtown, delivering an impromptu presentation about a new branding strategy. Her pitch was smooth, her confidence unwavering. Kenneth listened, occasionally nodding. Yet a subtle tension lingered. He recalled the moment from the night before, how Bianca's demeanor had crossed a boundary he couldn't quite define. "That's a solid proposal," he admitted. "I like the social media angle you're suggesting. Let's refine it and see how it aligns with the Redwood City project's budget." Bianca beamed. "Absolutely, Kenneth. I'll have the revised plan on your desk by tomorrow." As they wrapped up, Bianca closed her laptop, carefully studying him. "You look exhausted. Maybe you should take a break, have lunch with me. My treat to celebrate last night's success." Kenneth hesitated. "I appreciate the offer, but I have back-to-back meetings." Her face briefly fell before she rallied with a smile. "Another time, then." She turned to leave, her posture showing no sign of disappointment. Yet, behind her polished exterior, Bianca bristled with frustration. She had hoped to deepen a personal connection with Kenneth today, but was met with polite distance instead. Back at the mansion, Audrey felt a sudden wave of nausea. She abandoned her half-eaten breakfast, pressing a hand to her chest as she stumbled to the bathroom. Rebecca rushed after her, gently supporting her friend. After several minutes, the discomfort subsided. Audrey wiped her brow, tears pricking at her eyes. "Third trimester woes," she joked weakly. "But I'll be okay," Rebecca frowned. "You need rest, and maybe we should schedule an extra checkup with Dr. Amanda Lee just to be sure." Nodding, Audrey agreed, grateful for Rebecca's unwavering support. She climbed the sweeping staircase slowly, each step reminding her of the little one growing inside. In her bedroom, she sank into a plush armchair and dialed her obstetrician's office. The receptionist, recognizing Audrey's name, squeezed her in for a same-day appointment. A few hours later, Audrey found herself in Dr. Lee's calm, well-lit office. The obstetrician ran routine checks, listened to the fetal heartbeat, and took Audrey's vitals. "Your blood pressure is slightly elevated," Dr. Lee noted with concern. "Try to avoid stress. At this stage, everything can affect the baby." Audrey promised to take it easy, but as she left the clinic, an uneasy thought took hold. Her stress had been minimal except for that nagging sense about Bianca. She brushed the worry away, deciding she wouldn't let speculation endanger her health or her child. That night, Kenneth returned late, weighed down by the day's demands. Over dinner, he discussed the Redwood City expansion, praising Bianca's innovative ideas. Audrey listened, forcing a supportive smile, but she couldn't shake the tension in her chest. She recalled Dr. Lee's advice and resolved not to let her suspicions fester without cause. "I trust your judgment," Audrey said softly. "Just remember to put boundaries in place. You've been working so much lately." Kenneth reached for her hand across the table, his eyes full of warmth. "I promise, the moment these deals wrap up, I'll shift all my focus to you and the baby." In the dimly lit dining room, the couple shared a tender moment. But elsewhere, a silent storm brewed. Bianca was forging ahead with new strategies, methodically weaving herself into every corner of Kenneth's professional life. Day by day, she intended to close the distance between them, determined to be more than just a consultant. And if that meant Audrey had to be displaced physically or otherwise, Bianca was all too willing to push. The following week saw Redwood City humming with talk of Kenneth Mahoney's upcoming groundbreaking ceremony for a luxury condominium complex. Advertisements plastered bus stops and billboards, promising a new standard of living. Behind the glossy campaign was Bianca Alcott, her strategic genius evident in every tagline. In Kenneth's office, phone calls and consultations ran non-stop. Bianca occupied a desk at the far end, working side by side with Kenneth's regular staff. From that vantage point, she effortlessly integrated herself into every decision, every minor detail. Kenneth, pressed for time, found himself leaning more on her. But as Bianca's responsibilities grew, so did her desire for control. She noticed that staff members still turned to Kenneth for final approvals instead of her. She hated that even if it was the natural order of things. In her mind, if she could elevate her role to be indispensable, Kenneth would come to rely on her personally and emotionally. She just needed an angle. That angle arrived in the form of a rumor. A small blog, the Redwood Inquirer, published a piece claiming that local residents opposed the new development for environmental reasons. It was half true. There had been some mild concerns, but the blog exaggerated them. Sensing an opportunity, Bianca subtly dropped alarming hints to Kenneth about potential protests and lawsuits. "People are starting to gather petitions," she lied, feigning concern. "Investors are getting skittish, too. I've had calls all morning." Startled, Kenneth scrolled through his phone for any official notice. He found nothing concrete but took Bianca at her word. In turn, the stress soared. "We'll need a crisis PR plan," he muttered, massaging the bridge of his nose. Bianca offered a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I can handle that. Let me take the lead, Kenneth. Focus on what you do best. Sealing the deals." Reluctantly, Kenneth agreed. He was already juggling endless tasks, and Bianca had proven adept at spin control. Perhaps letting her run the show would ease the burden. While Bianca orchestrated a damage control campaign, which largely involved inflated rumors of her own making, Audrey battled a different kind of stress at home. Her blood pressure inched higher, causing concern for Dr. Amanda Lee, who insisted Audrey scale back all strenuous activity. Even walking for too long left Audrey feeling dizzy. She spent more hours in bed, reading or watching mindless TV to relax, yet her mind kept drifting to Kenneth's schedule, to the presence of Bianca. She tried to tell herself she was being paranoid, but each time Kenneth came home late, each time he mentioned another investor dinner that Bianca would attend, Audrey's intuition flared. Rebecca Farnsworth, noticing her friend's mounting anxiety, visited one afternoon with a bouquet of daisies. "Here," she said, placing the flowers in a vase. "A little sunshine for your day?" "Thank you," Audrey murmured, overwhelmed with gratitude. "I hate feeling so useless, Rebecca. I want to support Kenneth, but Dr. Lee is telling me to avoid stress." Rebecca squeezed Audrey's hand. "Your health and the baby come first. Kenneth can handle the business side, but if your instincts about Bianca keep nagging, don't ignore them completely. Sometimes a whisper of doubt can protect us from a scream of disaster." Over the next few days, Audrey confided her concerns to Kenneth, who half listened. "Bianca's not perfect," he admitted one evening as they settled into bed, "but she's effective, and we need that right now. Don't worry, I won't let her cross any lines." Audrey sighed, wishing she could shake the sense of looming danger. "Okay," she finally whispered, resolved to focus on the baby's well-being. Across town, in a sleek modern condo she'd rented, Bianca poured herself a glass of wine. The lights of Redwood City sparkled below her window. She considered her day's work, how she had quietly fueled Kenneth's stress, making him rely on her more, and how she had managed to sow seeds of confusion among staff about potential crises. It was working. Already, she sensed Kenneth responding to her suggestions like a lifeline. In that quiet moment, Bianca's gaze fell on a photograph taped to her vanity mirror, a snapshot of her and Kenneth at a charity event. She had cropped out Audrey from the frame. It reminded her of what she was after, not just business success, but Kenneth himself. The sweet taste of ambition danced on her tongue as she contemplated her next move. She had big plans, a set of carefully orchestrated accidents that would push Audrey over the edge. All she needed was the right trigger, a burst of stress, and perhaps one unfortunate moment that would send Audrey and the baby spiraling into crisis. Then, Bianca believed, Kenneth would finally see who truly belonged by his side. Dark clouds gathered over Redwood City, mirroring the tension simmering beneath its polished surface. In Kenneth's headquarters, a hush fell as staff absorbed the news. A protest group was planning to picket the groundbreaking ceremony for the condominium project. Word had spread on social media, fueled by half-facts and speculation. Bianca seized the momentum, organizing press conferences and drafting statements to quell investor fears. Kenneth tried to remain calm, but the pressure mounted. Beyond the protesters, he juggled a lawsuit from a local competitor, a flurry of union negotiations, and Audrey's health issues. Sleep slipped away from him, replaced by late-night phone calls and restless pacing in his study. Bianca offered to shoulder more responsibilities, and her efficiency was remarkable. Each time Kenneth seemed on the verge of collapse, she presented a neat solution. Yet, ironically, the woman stirring the chaos was the very one offering him solace. Bianca's behind-the-scenes meddling stoked the protest group, encouraging their outcry with anonymous tips and social media posts. She also leaked false leads about illegal land deals to freelance bloggers. The more crises she created, the more valuable she appeared when she resolved them. Audrey watched from the sidelines, helpless in her third trimester fatigue. One afternoon, she attempted to surprise Kenneth with a homemade lunch, ignoring Dr. Lee's recommendation for rest. She called for the driver, got dressed, and headed downtown. Halfway there, she started feeling light-headed, a sudden spike of anxiety gripping her. She tried to breathe through it, but her vision blurred. Panic set in her baby's well-being was at stake. She ordered the driver to turn around immediately. By the time she returned home, her heart was pounding, and the house staff rushed to help her inside. When she finally calmed down, a wave of guilt assaulted her. I can't even deliver lunch to my husband without risking a breakdown. The seed of self-doubt grew. Later that night, Kenneth arrived past 8, exhausted. "Why didn't you rest today?" he chided gently. "Rebecca texted me that you left the house. You know your doctor's orders." Audrey's eyes brimmed with tears. "I just wanted to help, to remind you I'm here." Kenneth set down his briefcase and kissed her forehead. "Your only job is to take care of yourself and our child. Everything else can wait." She nodded, swallowing her worries about Bianca, the protests, and her mounting feeling of inadequacy. Kenneth deserved her faith, but her anxiety kept gnawing. The following week brought the Redwood City groundbreaking ceremony, an event that had once promised celebration. Instead, it unfolded in a tense atmosphere. Kenneth arrived, flanked by local officials and key investors. At the edge of the construction site, a small but vocal group of protesters chanted slogans about environmental protection. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing every scowl, every forced smile. Bianca, draped in a sophisticated charcoal pantsuit, played the role of crisis manager flawlessly. She escorted dignitaries, eased tension with politely crafted statements, and guided Kenneth away from persistent reporters. On the surface, she was indispensable, smoothing over friction with a polished grin. But in the crowd, a journalist from the Bay Area Business Chronicle named Marcus Jang cornered Bianca. He recognized her from an earlier press event and found her eerily omnipresent, curious about how she always seemed to be at the eye of the storm. "Alcott," he began, "some sources suggest you've been orchestrating a media campaign around these environmental claims. Is there any truth to that?" Bianca narrowed her eyes, her smile never faltering. "That's a baseless rumor," she said coolly. "My only goal is to ensure transparency for Mahoney Real Estate." Yet a flicker of defensiveness crept into her tone. Marcus sensed it but decided to hold off on pressing too hard, at least for now. He made a mental note to investigate further. After the ceremony, Kenneth collapsed into his limousine, head throbbing. Bianca slipped in beside him, uninvited. She offered him a bottled water, resting a hand on his shoulder in a gesture that felt too personal. "You did well," she murmured, leaning close. "Sometimes adversity just makes us stronger." Kenneth stiffened, recalling how he'd wished Audrey could be there with him. But Audrey had stayed home, on strict bed rest. He pulled away slightly, murmuring a half-hearted "Thank you, Bianca." She noticed, and her lips thinned in frustration. Despite Bianca's subtle intimidation, Kenneth's suspicion began to stir. Why did these crises multiply the closer they got to project deadlines? Why was Bianca at the center of every rumor's resolution? Meanwhile, Bianca's simmering resentment of Audrey deepened. If only that wife of his wasn't around, she thought. He'd recognize how much he needs me. In her mind, Audrey's fragile health was the perfect vulnerability to exploit. Another well-timed crisis, a push that might send Audrey into a downward spiral, and then Kenneth would be hers to comfort. And so, the seeds of chaos continued to scatter on Redwood City soil. As a gloomy dusk settled over the city, few realized just how close the Mahoney family was to disaster, and how meticulously Bianca had orchestrated every step toward that fateful brink. Audrey's condition took an unexpected downturn. Dr. Amanda Lee monitored her regularly, concerned about spikes in her blood pressure and increasing anxiety symptoms. Any undue stress at this stage, the doctor warned, could trigger premature labor or dangerous complications. Audrey tried to stay calm. Meditation, soft music, occasional reading with Rebecca. Yet, an intangible dread gripped her heart. Kenneth, sensing the severity of Audrey's health, began limiting his late-night sessions at the office. He told Bianca he would spend more time at home. This decision alarmed Bianca. She feared losing her opportunity to entrench herself deeper into Kenneth's life. In response, she launched a cunning strategy: ensure Kenneth's phone and mind never stopped buzzing with crises only she could solve. Soon, urgent emails from concerned investors demanded immediate attention. A rumored buyer threatened to pull out at the 11th hour. Environmental agencies supposedly requested additional documentation. Each crisis forced Kenneth to remain tethered to his phone. Bianca offered herself as the filter, claiming, "I can handle these, but you'll need to be accessible for key decisions." Thus, Kenneth found himself in the worst of both worlds, stuck at home, anxious about Audrey's health, and simultaneously overwhelmed by calls and texts orchestrated by Bianca. He often worked from the living room, balancing his laptop on his knees while glancing up the staircase to ensure Audrey was resting. Late one night, Audrey woke to use the bathroom and noticed the faint glow of the living room lamp. She ventured down carefully, finding Kenneth hunched over his computer, pinching the bridge of his nose. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice groggy. He looked up, startled. "I'm sorry to wake you. There's a snag with a major investor in the Redwood City project. Bianca just emailed me. She's trying to salvage the deal, but it's complicated." Audrey's heart sank at the mention of Bianca's name again. Mustering concern, she approached him. "Don't overwork yourself. We can't both be falling apart." Kenneth exhaled, shutting his laptop. "You're right. Let's try to get some sleep." Upstairs, as Audrey slipped back under the covers, she couldn't shake her sense that Bianca was behind these never-ending issues. But how could she prove it? The next day, Rebecca arrived with a quiet determination. "I'm not a detective," she said to Audrey, "but I have a friend who used to do private investigations for local law firms. Maybe he can look into these crises and see if there's a link to Bianca." Though Audrey was reluctant to involve outsiders, desperation and worry for her baby pushed her to agree. Rebecca discreetly contacted her friend, Jacob Harrington, providing only the broad strokes: suspicious timing of crises, strange leaks to the press, an ambitious consultant named Bianca Alcott. Jacob got to work, combing through public records, social media footprints, and local blog comment sections. He soon identified a pattern: accounts or sources that sparked rumors often originated from the same digital hotspot. Many of them had connections to an office complex in Redwood City, a building ironically managed by Mahoney Real Estate and partially used by Bianca for her own tasks. Days turned into a week, and Jacob's findings grew more damning. A handful of IP addresses linked to anonymous tips kept tracing back to Bianca's devices. Meanwhile, Bianca escalated her sabotage, pushing Kenneth to the brink. He found himself dozing off during investor calls, forgetting essential tasks and snapping at staff. Bianca watched his unraveling with careful glee. Every instance of stress chipped away at Audrey's fragile health, too. If Audrey collapsed under that weight, Bianca believed Kenneth would cling to the only person who could save his business, her. Then came the pivotal moment: an email from a tabloid threatening to publish damning evidence about the Redwood City project's shady financial dealings. The allegations were false, but the scandal threatened to alarm other investors. Kenneth, frantic, phoned Bianca in the middle of the night. She answered on the first ring. "We'll handle it," she purred confidently. "I'll issue a press statement in the morning. Don't worry." As Bianca hung up, a triumphant smirk danced on her lips. She had planned this fiasco from the start, ensuring she alone could quell it. Little did she suspect that Jacob Harrington was now hot on her trail, gathering each digital breadcrumb she had left behind. Across town, Audrey tossed and turned in her bed, consumed by dread. The baby kicked anxiously, as if sensing her turmoil. She placed a soothing hand on her belly, whispering soft reassurances. If only she knew how close the final blow was, how soon Bianca's sabotage would reach a chilling crescendo. threatening both Audrey's life and her unborn child. Jacob Harrington's investigation reached a crescendo when he managed to crack a password-protected folder on one of Bianca's old business cloud drives. Inside, he found a trove of emails detailing her orchestration's fake crisis setups, pre-written investor concerns, and even her direct communications with the small environmental protest group. It was all there, in black and white, Bianca single-handedly fueling chaos to embed herself deeper in Kenneth's life. Rebecca Farnsworth scanned the files Jacob handed her, shock twisting her features. "I knew it," she muttered. "I'd just never imagined it was this elaborate." She felt fury coil in her stomach, thinking of how Audrey and Kenneth had been manipulated. "We have to show this to them right away." Jacob frowned. "Yes, but proceed carefully. If Bianca finds out we have this, she might escalate." And escalate she did without even knowing the net was closing in on her. That same afternoon, the Redwood City tabloid published its sensational piece about alleged bribes and land fraud, painting Kenneth Mahoney as a greedy magnate who disregarded the environment. The story blew up on social media, with critics piling on. Even a local TV station picked it up, thrusting Kenneth into the hottest spotlight he'd faced yet. At the mansion, Audrey watched the news from the living room, her heart pounding. Kenneth paced in front of the TV, phone clutched in hand. "This is madness," he seethed. "I've never bribed a single official in my life." Bianca arrived soon after, dressed in a chic navy blazer and pencil skirt, walking in with a performance of concern. "Kenneth, I came as soon as I heard. I'm coordinating a press conference to refute every claim. Let me handle it." Before Audrey could interject, Kenneth nodded, relief crossing his face. "Thank you," he said, sounding exhausted. "I'm not sure how to fix this otherwise." Audrey noted Bianca's triumphant posture. Her gut churned. Everything about Bianca's impeccable timing felt wrong. But in that moment, all that mattered was mitigating the scandal. As if the day couldn't get worse, Audrey started experiencing sharp abdominal pains. Doctor Lai had warned her that acute stress could lead to premature contractions. Trying to stay calm, she excused herself and climbed upstairs to lie down. Rebecca, arriving just in time, found Audrey curled up on the bed, trying to breathe through the pain. Panicked, she fetched a cold compress and called Dr. Lai, who recommended immediate rest and medication. Meanwhile, Bianca guided Kenneth through a flurry of phone calls, stepping up her role as crisis manager. She blocked out reporters, scheduled a damage control press conference, and fed Kenneth lines about how this was all politics. Each time Kenneth expressed gratitude, Bianca's confidence swelled. Soon, she thought, he'll realize I'm the only one who can keep his empire intact. By late afternoon, Audrey's pain had subsided, but her blood pressure soared. Dr. Lee visited in person, her face grim. "Any more spikes like this could induce early labor. You must eliminate stress." Audrey nodded weakly, tears brimming. Kenneth, though concerned, couldn't pull away from his swirling business emergency. He peered into the bedroom, offering a fleeting apology before hurrying back to phone calls. As evening fell, Bianca left the mansion, satisfied with how the day had unfolded. On her drive home, she received a text from an unknown number. "We have evidence of your involvement. Meet me behind Redwood Plaza at midnight if you want to negotiate." Her heart lurched. Evidence? She immediately suspected someone had traced her tactics. But who? If her secrets got out, it would ruin everything. "I can't let that happen," she decided, swerving her car in a near-panicked turn. She would meet this blackmailer and figure out how to silence them. Back at the Mahoney mansion, Rebecca coaxed a trembling Audrey to take her medication. Kenneth was in the study, reviewing urgent emails. Rebecca debated whether to share Jacob's findings right then, but Audrey's condition was too fragile. "Let's wait until tomorrow," she whispered to Jacob over the phone. "Audrey's not stable, and Kenneth is buried. We'll do it in person when they can both listen, Jacob agreed, acknowledging the risk. Neither realized how Bianca, desperate and cornered, might lash out soon. For Audrey, the night passed in a blur of fear and physical discomfort, each pang foreshadowing the possibility that the baby might come early or worse. Unbeknownst to them all, this was the calm before the real storm, one that would see Audrey rush to the hospital, Bianca's schemes laid bare, and Kenneth's fury unleashed in a revenge that would leave Bianca's reputation in tatters. Night stretched ominously over Redwood Plaza as Bianca Alcott stepped out of her silver sedan, checking the time on her phone. 11:58 p.m. The deserted parking lot lay under flickering streetlights. She wrapped her coat tighter, scanning for signs of the unknown blackmailer. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, Jacob Harrington. Bianca had never met him, but she recognized the look of grim determination in his eyes. "You're the one who texted me?" she demanded, trying to mask her fear with anger. Jacob nodded. "I have proof you manufactured every scandal that's hitting Kenneth and pushing Audrey to the brink. You're responsible for inciting protesters, planting false stories, and driving them both into a state of desperation." Bianca's lips thinned. "How much do you want?" Jacob shook his head, disgust evident. "I'm not here for money. I'm here to warn you, stop what you're doing. Leave Kenneth and Audrey alone. We'll be handing our evidence to them in the morning. If you run, I'll ensure the police get it too." A wave of panic coursed through Bianca. She had not anticipated an ethical blackmailer. "You can't prove anything. People spread rumors all the time." Jacob handed over a folder. On top were screenshots of her emails, phone logs, IP addresses. "I can prove everything." Her composure cracked. She lunged for the folder, but Jacob snatched it back, stepping beyond her reach. "You need to face the consequences," he snapped. "I'm only telling you now because I want to give Audrey and Kenneth a chance to handle this privately." Bianca stood there, trembling, her mind spinning. If Kenneth saw that evidence, she'd lose him. And that, despite her manipulations, was the last thing she wanted. With no options left, she clutched her coat around her body and stormed back to her car, refusing to dignify Jacob with a response. "I have one chance left," she thought. "Push Audrey to the edge before morning." At the Mahoney mansion, the clock approached 2 a.m. Audrey lay in a half-conscious doze, sweat beading on her forehead. Her body ached, but exhaustion held her down. Kenneth paced the hallway, conferring with Bianca over the phone about the morning press conference. He was desperate to quell the scandal overshadowing his company and, ironically, placing trust in the very person orchestrating it. Bianca, driving away from Redwood Plaza, kicked her plan into high gear. She dialed a contact at the tabloid. "Release one more piece," she hissed. "Make it personal. Imply that Audrey's health is failing and that Kenneth is looking elsewhere for support. Yes, hint at an affair. That will blow up everywhere by sunrise." The moment she hung up, guilt stabbed at her momentarily, but the fear of losing everything overshadowed any moral hesitation. Shortly before dawn, phones across Redwood City buzzed with notifications. A sensational headline from the Redwood Inquirer read, "Mahoney marriage on the rocks? Sources say pregnant wife in crisis, while CEO leans on mysterious female consultant." The text insinuated that Audrey's condition was far worse, that Kenneth felt trapped, and that Bianca was his new confidant. Social media erupted in a frenzy. Investors panicked about the potential meltdown of the Mahoney family brand. At 6 a.m., an exhausted Audrey scrolled through her phone in bed. She froze at the article, her heart hammering against her ribcage. Photos of Kenneth and Bianca circulated, cropped to look intimate. Comments speculated about Audrey's competence, her inability to handle stress, and claims that Kenneth might divorce her after the baby's birth. Tears welled. She felt lightheaded, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Gripped by anxiety, she clutched her belly as an acute pain spread through her abdomen. Rebecca, who'd stayed overnight, rushed to Audrey's side. "No, no, it's happening, call 911, Audrey gasped, doubling over. Frantic, Rebecca dialed emergency services while staff scrambled to calm Audrey. Kenneth, woken by the commotion, raced upstairs to find his wife nearly collapsing. The ambulance arrived in a swirl of flashing lights, medics loading Audrey onto a stretcher. Kenneth was at her side, gripping her hand, tears streaming down his face as the wail of sirens cut through dawn's early light. Behind them, Bianca's strategic war on Audrey had reached its apex. The pregnant wife, tormented by rumors and stress, was now on her way to the hospital. For Bianca, it was a success. But for Kenneth, it ignited a wrath that would soon turn against the true orchestrator of his family's suffering. The hospital corridors smelled of antiseptic and fresh linen. Audrey was rushed into a private room, her face pale, sweat glistening on her forehead. Dr. Amanda Lee arrived within minutes, hooking Audrey up to monitors, measuring contractions and fetal heartbeat. Kenneth stood by the bed, his hand trembling on Audrey's shoulder. "Stay with me," he whispered, eyes filled with agony. "We'll get through this." Dr. Lee checked Audrey's vitals, her expression grave. "She's experiencing premature labor contractions. We need to stabilize her blood pressure and monitor the baby's stress level." Kenneth's heart thundered in his chest. A swirl of guilt, fear, and rage tore at him. Guilt for not protecting Audrey from these vicious rumors, fear for their child, and a seething rage against whoever orchestrated this chaos. Back at the mansion, Rebecca Farnsworth and Jacob Harrington arrived together, determined to reveal Bianca's treachery. They were greeted by a stunned household staff, who relayed that Audrey had been rushed to the hospital. Without hesitation, they headed there, armed with their damning folder of evidence. In Audrey's hospital room, the machines beeped methodically. Kenneth stroked her hand, trying to keep her calm. The door creaked open to reveal Rebecca and Jacob. One look at Kenneth's tear-streaked face told them the gravity of the situation. "Is she?" Rebecca asked, voice quavering. Kenneth shook his head. "They're trying to stop the contractions." Jacob cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Mr. Mahoney, I have information about what's been causing these rumors." He gestured to the folder under his arm. "It's Bianca Alcott." Kenneth's eyes narrowed. "Bianca? She's been trying to help us. She's orchestrated everything," Jacob said, a firm edge in his tone. "From fueling the environmental protests to leaking false rumors about your marriage. She used multiple IP addresses, burner phones, and aliases. The files inside this folder prove it beyond doubt." Rebecca laid a gentle hand on Kenneth's shoulder. "We were hesitant to show you before, but after Audrey's collapse, there's no time to spare." Kenneth snatched the folder. Page after page, he saw the timeline of sabotage, internal emails from concerned investors traced back to Bianca, instructions to a tabloid journalist, even notes referencing Audrey's health vulnerabilities. His knuckles turned white, gripping the evidence as his mind reeled. A strangled sound of fury escaped his throat. She did all this. He clenched his jaw, recalling how Bianca had always appeared right when crisis struck, offering solutions, weaving herself into his life. She had used him, used his trust, and now Audrey was paying the price. In that moment, Dr. Lee stepped in. "We've managed to stabilize the contractions for now," she said, eyeing the tension in the room. "But Audrey must remain here on strict bed rest until we're certain the baby isn't in distress. No more shock, no more anxiety." Kenneth nodded, tears burning his eyes as he looked at his wife's frail form. Then he turned to Rebecca and Jacob. "Thank you. I'll handle Bianca personally." While Audrey rested, Kenneth stormed into the hallway and dialed Bianca's number. She answered on the first ring, her tone brisk. "Kenneth, I'm preparing for the press conference. How's Audrey?" His voice shook with anger. "She's in the hospital, thanks to you." Bianca feigned ignorance. "I'm sorry. I don't understand. Don't lie to me," Kenneth snarled, pressing the phone so hard against his ear it hurt. "I have proof of everything you did. Every sabotage, every rumor you planted, every shred of pain you inflicted on Audrey and on me." A pregnant pause. Then Bianca inhaled sharply. "Kenneth, I can explain. You have one chance," he hissed. "Meet me at Redwood City's Grand Hotel Lounge in 2 hours. If you don't show, or if you run, I'll have the police pick you up. Understood?" Bianca swallowed, a swirl of terror and indignation roiling inside her. "Fine," she managed, voice barely above a whisper. "I'll be there." Kenneth hung up and returned to Audrey's bedside for a brief moment, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. She stirred, half-conscious, whispering his name. He promised her he would fix this. Then he stepped out, heart pounding. Bianca had nearly taken his family away. She had manipulated him, jeopardized his child's life. The time for mercy had passed. He would ensure Bianca's downfall was as public and brutal as her schemes had been hidden and insidious. And once her reputation lay in shreds, she would finally comprehend the consequences of crossing the Mahoney family. The Grand Hotel Lounge in Redwood City gleamed with polished marble floors and plush velvet seating. Ordinarily, it welcomed power lunches and social gatherings. But tonight, it hosted a far different confrontation. Kenneth arrived first, wearing a dark suit that accentuated the hard set of his jaw. In the corner, Jacob Harrington quietly observed, ready to back him up if necessary. Bianca slipped in a few minutes later, her eyes scanning the room until they found Kenneth. She approached with cautious steps, clad in a sleek black trench coat. Her usual confident stride was replaced by uncertainty, her gaze flickering to the folder on the small table between them. "Sit," Kenneth ordered, voice cold. She complied, folding her hands in her lap. The tension felt as if it could crack the marble floors. "Before you say anything," Bianca began softly, "I want you to know my intentions weren't to harm Audrey or the baby. I felt overshadowed, unappreciated." Kenneth slammed his palm on the table, rattling the water glasses. "Stop lying. You nearly destroyed my family with your twisted ambition. Audrey is in the hospital, Bianca. The baby might come prematurely, and you knew how fragile she was." Bianca's lips trembled. "Kenneth, it was never supposed to go this far. I thought, if you saw how valuable I was, if your investors backed away and your reputation wavered, you'd realize I could be your savior. I only wanted a chance to be at your side." Kenneth let out a bitter laugh. "My side? You wanted my life, my status. You orchestrated countless crises, manipulated protests, published false articles. All so I'd lean on you while my wife fell apart." Bianca's eyes glistened with tears of guilt or fear or desperation. "Please," she whispered, "we can bury this. I'll fix the damage, retract the rumors. You don't have to ruin me." "Ruin you?" Kenneth repeated with grim finality. "Oh, that's exactly what I intend to do. You almost killed my wife and child. Did you think I'd just let you walk away?" He opened the folder, revealing the incriminating evidence to her once more. "Every investor you approached, every staff member you manipulated, every journalist you bribed, it's all here. I've already forwarded copies to my legal team." Bianca's breath caught. "Legal team? Are you pressing charges?" Kenneth's stare was ice. "Defamation, fraud, extortion. My lawyers are exploring every angle. Criminal charges may follow, but even if we settle, I'll make sure the entire city knows who you truly are. No one will ever hire you again." His words cut sharper than knives. For Bianca, who thrived on prestige and ambition, it was a fate worse than jail time, social and professional obliteration. She quivered in her seat, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Kenneth, I'm begging you. I'll do anything to make this right." He leaned forward, voice low and deadly calm. "The only thing I want is for you to vanish from my life. Confess publicly. Retract every rumor. Make a statement exonerating Audrey and my business. Then leave Redwood City. If you fight me on this, I'll release everything to the authorities. You'll be in handcuffs within the week." Trembling, Bianca buried her face in her hands. Kenneth rose, retrieving the folder. "I'm done speaking to you. My attorneys will be in touch. Remember, you made your own bed." Striding away, Kenneth felt a tidal wave of righteous fury coursing through his veins. Outside the lounge, Jacob Harrington nodded, following Kenneth to the car. "She looked pretty broken," Jacob remarked quietly. Kenneth closed his eyes, recalling Audrey's pale face in the hospital bed. "Not broken enough," he murmured, voice hoarse. "She'll never understand the pain she caused." He drove straight to the hospital, heart heavy with a mixture of relief and anger. In Audrey's room, he found her asleep, color returning to her cheeks as the Thorth dripped medicine into her veins. Dr. Lee said the contractions had slowed, but the threat of premature labor remained. Carefully, Kenneth took Audrey's hand, leaning in close. "It's over," he whispered, though a shadow of doubt lingered. Bianca might sign confessions and leave Redwood City, but the damage she inflicted wouldn't vanish overnight. Regardless, vengeance tasted both bitter and necessary. His priority now was ensuring Audrey's recovery and safeguarding their child. Bianca had unleashed havoc, believing it would grant her power. Instead, she reaped Kenneth's wrath, her once bright future in Redwood City scorched to ashes. For Audrey and the baby, a new dawn beckoned a life free from Bianca's schemes. And for Kenneth, this was only the beginning of rebuilding what had nearly been destroyed. 2 days later, Audrey's condition stabilized. The hospital room felt lighter, with colorful flowers and gentle sunlight streaming through the blinds. Kenneth hovered protectively, updating her on the final fallout of Bianca's betrayal, but keeping details sparse for fear of causing undue stress. Rebecca Farnsworth visited daily, bringing warm broth and conversation to cheer Audrey up. Jacob Harrington stopped by once to confirm that Bianca had indeed signed a confession, which Rebecca read aloud to Audrey in measured tones. She admitted to orchestrating the entire set of rumors. "Awed," Rebecca said, trying to keep her voice steady. "She even confesses she targeted your health vulnerabilities to drive you into a crisis." Tears shimmered in Audrey's eyes, all because she wanted Kenneth's approval and his life. "How twisted can someone be?" Rebecca nodded, placing the confession aside. "She's gone, though." Jacob said she left Redwood City. "Your lawyers have her statement, so she can't backtrack." Kenneth's business is already seeing recovery. Investors who were spooked are returning once they see the truth. Audrey leaned back against her pillows, exhaustion creeping up. She felt waves of gratitude for her friend's support and sorrow for the stress that nearly cost her and her unborn baby their safety. When Kenneth entered, he offered a gentle smile, slipping an arm around Audrey's shoulder. "How are you feeling?" he asked softly. "Better," she replied. "The baby's more active now. Doctor, Lai thinks we might carry to term if I stay on strict bed rest." Kenneth kissed her temple. "That's all I need to hear." He turned to Rebecca. "Would you give us a moment?" Once they were alone, Audrey cupped her husband's cheek. "I'm sorry I doubted you, even a little bit. Bianca made it look like you were relying on her for more than business." Kenneth shook his head, placing his hand over hers. "Never. I'm sorry I didn't catch on to her manipulations sooner. I should have protected you." They embraced, letting the hospital's quiet hush wrap around them. No words could erase the harrowing weeks they'd just survived, but they had each other, and their child was still safe. That was more than enough. Over the next month, Audrey remained under close watch, but her health steadily improved. Kenneth, having implemented thorough damage control, saw his real estate empire regain its footing. Publicly, news of Bianca's confession circulated with measured caution. Investors realized they had been duped by a cunning saboteur, and support rallied around Kenneth and Audrey. For Redwood City, the scandal became a cautionary tale about the power of rumor and ambition. Bianca's name turned to ash among professional circles. Clients she once courted severed ties, industry events blacklisted her, and her reputation lay in tatters. It was rumored she fled to another state, hoping to start anew. Yet the digital trail of her confession followed her, tarnishing her prospects wherever she tried to rebuild. Meanwhile, Dr. Amanda Lee declared Audrey fit to return home, provided she abide by bed rest. The day she left the hospital, Kenneth guided her gently to the waiting car, staff waving goodbye. The relief in the air was palpable. Back at the Mahoney mansion, the staff had rearranged the bedroom for maximum comfort, a plush recliner by the window, warm blankets, flowers from well-wishers. Kenneth's first priority was to wrap Audrey in his arms, inhaling the scent of her hair. She laughed softly, feeling the baby kick, feeling safe. Rebecca emerged from the kitchen, carrying a tray of herbal tea and homemade cookies. "Welcome home, Mama-to-be," she teased. "No more drama, promise." Audrey laughed, tears of happiness slipping down her cheeks. "I'll hold you to that." Night fell, a calm hush settling over the mansion. In their bedroom, Audrey rested while Kenneth read a parenting book. Occasionally, they shared a look, a soft smile, an unspoken gratitude for surviving the storm that almost tore them apart. The future might still hold challenges, but nothing could shake their faith in each other. In the months that followed, Audrey gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Christopher Mahoney. His arrival symbolized a fresh start, a tangible reminder that love, resilience, and truth could conquer even the most poisonous deceit. Kenneth gazed at his newborn son with awe, silently vowing that no threat would ever again jeopardize his family. While Bianca disappeared into obscurity, the Mahoneys thrived. And though scars remained from the betrayal, each day brought them closer, forging an unbreakable bond. In a city shimmering with ambition and wealth, their story became a beacon of what truly mattered: the power of loyalty, the triumph of truth, and the unshakable strength of a family united against all odds. Kenneth and Audrey Mahoney's ordeal served as a stark reminder of how ambition, when twisted by envy, can shatter lives. Yet from the edge of heartbreak, their bond emerged unbreakable. Bianca's elaborate web of deceit ultimately trapped only herself, leaving her reputation and future in ruins. Meanwhile, the Mahoneys found renewed purpose in each other and in their newborn son, Christopher, an enduring symbol of hope after the storm. Their journey reminds us that real love and unity can withstand any onslaught of lies. When truth comes to light, no scheme, no matter how calculated, can prevail. If you found this story gripping, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Spread the word so others can experience every dramatic twist of this cautionary tale of betrayal and redemption. Together, let's celebrate stories that prove genuine devotion and integrity are the strongest shields against even the most dangerous ambitions. The mistress posted their affair online, but pregnant wife uploaded a video that made the millionaire vanish. In the quiet suburbs of Maple Falls, rumors spread faster than wildfires. when a sultry social media post emerged claiming an affair with the town's most prominent millionaire, the cozy facade of perfection started to crumble. At the center of it all was Daniel Harrington, a charming entrepreneur whose fortune was matched only by the devotion of his pregnant wife, Lily. Yet everything changed when a mysterious mistress, Elena Carter, decided to broadcast their affair online for the entire world to witness. Little did anyone know, Lily had her own shocking piece of evidence, one devastating video that would make Daniel vanish without a trace. Every grand story has a humble beginning, and for Daniel Harrington and Lily Parker Harrington, it began in the bustling city of Seattle. While Daniel had been a promising tech entrepreneur, Lily was a talented interior designer known for her innovative touches in luxury homes. Their union was the stuff of local legend, a lavish wedding covered by the Seattle press, a fairy tale honeymoon, and a blossoming partnership that seemed destined for lifelong bliss. But just beneath the surface of their perfect world lay secrets that threatened to bubble up. Late-night phone calls, furtive text messages, and a faint disconnect in Daniel's gaze worried Lily, but she attributed it to stress. After all, Daniel's million-dollar software venture, Waypoint Solutions, was in the midst of a massive expansion. When Lily found out she was pregnant, she saw it as a divine confirmation that all the sleepless nights and anxious thoughts would soon be replaced by the warmth of a growing family. Their suburban home in Maple Falls, just outside the city, symbolized tranquility. Neighbors admired the confident entrepreneur who never stopped hosting community drives, and the poised wife who managed to look radiant even on her most hectic days. But behind Lily's smiles were questions she couldn't quite articulate. Why did Daniel's business trips stretch so long? Why was he evasive about new colleagues, especially one named Elena Carter? Elena Carter was a consultant brought in to refine Waypoint Solutions' user interface for a major relaunch. Vivacious, sharp, and notoriously direct, she made an immediate impact. Rumors circled in Daniel's office that she was more than a colleague. The glances they exchanged in the corridor, the occasional private lunch, no one wanted to assume the worst, but the office chatter grew. And Elena didn't mind feeding the rumors with subtle hints, laughter at inside jokes, a hand laid gently on Daniel's shoulder, a conspiratorial grin when their eyes met. Lily sensed something was off, though she fought to maintain her peace. To her mind, doubt was a corrosive force that could destroy a marriage just as surely as an actual betrayal. Yet each night, as Daniel's arrivals grew later, she found herself lying awake longer, imagining shapes in the darkness. She'd stroke her growing belly, as if reassuring the baby that everything was going to be fine. But her illusions were dimming. Then came the first undeniable sign, an unfamiliar earring in Daniel's car. Lily discovered it while grabbing a grocery receipt from the passenger seat, an earring studded with tiny emeralds, neither her style nor her possession. Daniel brushed it off, claiming it belonged to a friend who'd asked for a ride. Though Lily tried to accept the explanation, an ache lodged in her chest. It was in these tenuous moments, barely perceivable cracks forming under the weight of suspicion, that the seeds for the explosive scandal were sown. For if Daniel Harrington truly had a paramour, it would only be a matter of time before the truth erupted, claiming more than just his marital bliss. The story was about to unfold in a way no one, least of all Lily, could have anticipated. The rumor mill at Waypoint Solutions churned at a relentless pace. In a startup environment where everyone worked late nights and weekends, gossip offered a strange kind of entertainment that broke the monotony of endless coding, designing, and strategizing. Elena Carter was the focal point of these whispers. Her relationship with Daniel, though couched in professionalism, exuded an undeniable tension that left interns wide-eyed and managers uncomfortably silent. During team meetings, Elena's presence was magnetic. She carried herself with an air of confidence usually reserved for CEOs, not mid-level consultants. She asked incisive questions, challenging Daniel's decisions in a way that was both flattering and combative. Co-workers would later describe these moments as if they were watching two dancers locked in a tango, dangerous, intimate, and beautiful in its precision. James Thompson, Daniel's longtime friend and business partner, was one of the few people who remained unimpressed. He had known Daniel since college, when they'd share cheap dorm dinners and dream about software that could reshape logistics. James noticed how Daniel's demeanor changed around Elena, how his eyes drifted to her even when Lily would stop by the office to bring homemade muffins for the team. While James and Lily were not especially close, he respected her deeply. She was genuine, warm, and supportive of Daniel's ambitions. One evening, as most employees were packing up, James confronted Daniel in his corner office. Through the glass walls, they appeared like two actors in a silent movie. James was visibly concerned, his arms crossed. Daniel attempted to laugh off whatever was being said, but his grin was forced. After a few tense minutes, James left, shaking his head. Elena, who had been at her desk, locked eyes with Daniel through the glass. A knowing smile flickered across her lips. Outside the office, Elena's life was equally mysterious. She lived in a sleek, modern apartment in downtown Seattle, a place that seemed to function more like a stage set than a home. Her living room boasted massive windows with panoramic views of the city, but there were few personal items, no family photos, no souvenirs. Colleagues who visited her place, usually for after-work gatherings, left with the impression that she guarded her privacy ruthlessly, revealing only what she wanted people to see. When Daniel dropped her off one night following a team dinner, a curious neighbor spotted them. He saw Elena leaning in, whispering something into Daniel's ear before disappearing into the building. The man later told his wife he couldn't be sure, but it looked more than friendly. The rumor soon reached Maple Falls, drifting into the quiet corners of Lily's social circle. Lily, meanwhile, tried to appear unfazed. She poured her energy into designing a nursery, flipping through color palettes and searching for the perfect crib that balanced functionality with style. But beneath her determined calm, fear brewed. Sometimes she would Google Elena Carter's name late at night, looking for any detail that might confirm or dispel her suspicions. All she found were professional accolades, no personal controversies, no skeletons in an online closet. It offered small comfort. As office whispers grew louder, the invisible barrier keeping Lily's world intact began to wear thin. The people around Daniel, his oldest friends, his closest co-workers, recognized the precariousness of the situation. Some warned him to cool things off with Elena. Others, lured by the thrill of a scandal, fueled the rumor mill with half-truths and speculation. It was only a matter of time before Eleanor, the rumored mistress herself, seized control of the narrative, taking matters into her own hands in a way that would shake Maple Falls and the internet to its core. Lily first heard about the scandalous post from her friend Felicia Barnes. Early one morning, Felicia called in a state of mild panic, her voice trembling on the other end of the line. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I saw something online about Daniel and another woman." Lily's heart skittered in her chest. In a daze, Lily opened her laptop. Social media notifications bombarded her feed, messages from acquaintances, cryptic comments. With a sinking feeling, she clicked on the link Felicia had sent. There it was, a public post on a notorious gossip forum, authored by someone with the username Elena C. Truth. The headline read, "I'm the mistress, and here's my proof." The post was breathtakingly explicit. Elena detailed late-night rendezvous in expensive hotel suites, affectionate text exchanges, even allegations of hush money. Attached to the post were blurred but suggestive photos, a silhouette that could pass for Daniel's build, an arm that appeared to match his distinctive watch, a luxury sports car identical to Daniel's parked outside a downtown condo. For a few seconds, Lily's mind went blank. The text on the screen seemed surreal, like a scene from a trashy soap opera rather than her own life. Then, as she scrolled further, rage coiled in her chest. Elena claimed Daniel had promised to leave Lily, that he spoke of a loveless marriage, using terms like duty and obligation. The greatest sting was Elena's allegation that Daniel was trapped because Lily was pregnant, implying that Lily's pregnancy was merely a strategic move to keep him tied down. News traveled like lightning. Within hours, the post was trending on multiple gossip sites and small-time tabloids. Seattle's star entrepreneur in hot water read one clickbait headline. Paparazzi began loitering around Waypoint Solutions headquarters and even outside the Harringtons' suburban home. Lily's phone buzzed incessantly, friends offering condolences, journalists asking for statements, and spam messages from strangers offering dubious support or condemnation. Daniel rushed home after hearing the news. Lily sat at the dining table, her laptop closed, arms folded over her belly. Her eyes brimmed with unshed tears, but anger radiated from her every pore. She demanded answers, her voice trembling with fury. Daniel, cornered, tried to deny the specifics. He called the photos coincidences and suggested Elena had manufactured them to blackmail him. But Lily wasn't convinced. After all, Elena's account matched too many details to be mere fabrication. The argument escalated. Lily hurled accusations. Daniel pleaded for her to let him explain. Eventually, Lily stormed off, slamming the bedroom door behind her. She curled up on the bed, tears soaking her pillow as she pressed a protective hand to her belly. Meanwhile, the online world devoured every update. Elena reveled in the attention, teasing that there was more to come, fueling speculation about further evidence. Those close to the Harringtons prayed it was all a misunderstanding, that Daniel was merely a victim of a scorned colleague. But in the midst of this frenzy, Elena's motivations, once murky, started to crystallize. This wasn't just a cry for recognition. It felt like a carefully orchestrated power play, one that threatened to destroy not only Daniel's reputation, but also Lily's entire sense of security in her marriage. In the days following Elena's public disclosure, loyalty lines at Waypoint Solutions were drawn in the sand. Many employees, especially those who had idolized Daniel for his charismatic leadership, were stunned. Some refused to believe the allegations without conclusive proof. Others had witnessed enough tense, whispery exchanges between Daniel and Elena to suspect there was truth to her claims. James Thompson found himself in an awkward position. He had urged Daniel to be more cautious around Elena, maybe even step back from day-to-day involvement at the company. Now, with the scandal out in the open, the company's board demanded an explanation. James spent hours in emergency meetings trying to assure stakeholders that Waypoint Solutions would weather the storm, but investors grew jittery and the stock took a slight tumble. Frustration welled in James's chest. Daniel's personal entanglements were becoming a massive corporate liability. Daniel, for his part, tried to pretend it was business as usual. He walked through the office corridors with forced composure. He delivered pep talks, even cracked a few jokes, but the tension was palpable. Some employees whispered that Elena had more dirt to spill. Others claimed that Daniel was scrambling to do damage control behind the scenes. Away from the corporate chaos, Lily took a leave of absence from her design projects. She couldn't focus on color palettes or floor plans when her entire life was upended. She stayed home, fighting an internal war between heartbreak and an odd protective instinct for Daniel's unborn child. Exhaustion set in emotional strain, mingled with the physical challenges of pregnancy. Nights were restless, days an endless cycle of phone calls from sympathetic friends and glimpses of tabloid headlines featuring her marriage. Elena, meanwhile, seemed to bask in the attention like a star on a red carpet. She posted cryptic updates on social media, screenshots of alleged conversations with Daniel, some possibly doctored, some heartbreakingly real, photos of them out to dinner, and even voice notes where a man sounding much like Daniel murmured sweet nothings. Online commentators leaped on every new morsel, dissecting them with feral glee, yet beneath Elena's bravado lurked a hint of desperation. Some suspected she wanted to push Daniel into a corner, perhaps to make good on an unfulfilled promise. Others speculated she was angling for a huge payoff. Her flamboyant approach alienated more measured observers who questioned her motives. Still, the damage to Daniel's reputation and Lily's marriage seemed irreversible. In Maple Falls, a new kind of quiet descended. It was the hush of neighbors tiptoeing around a house under siege. The Harringtons' mailbox overflowed with letters, some supportive, others hateful. A few even contained ominous warnings. Lily learned to ignore the doorbell unless she was expecting a friend or family member. Curiosity seekers, journalists, and random busybodies often hovered nearby. A surprising ally emerged in the form of Felicia Barnes, Lily's close friend. Felicia became Lily's confidant, standing guard at the Harrington home to ward off paparazzi, organizing grocery deliveries, and sending out polite but firm messages to those who pried. When Lily felt too isolated to face the world, Felicia would coax her onto the porch, reminding her that no matter how painful things seemed, she still had a life and a baby to fight for. Amid the chaos, Lily discovered an unsettling sense of purpose. She was determined to find real answers, not just scraps of gossip. Did Daniel truly love Elena, or was he trapped in some twisted scheme? If he was guilty, did he deserve the life they had built together? As the pressure mounted, so did Lily's resolve. Little did she know that she would soon gain the upper hand in the most unexpected way, a discovery that would not just rock Elena's claims, but rip open Daniel's carefully guarded secrets, leading to an explosive confrontation no one saw coming. When Lily found herself staring at the ceiling night after night, searching for a shred of clarity, her thoughts invariably returned to the lingering questions about Elena. Who was she, really? Where did she come from? Why would she target Daniel so brazenly? Felicia Barnes suggested they do some digging of their own. If Elena wanted to air dirty laundry online, maybe Lily could uncover a skeleton or two in Elena's closet. With quiet resolve, Lily agreed. While Lily didn't want to indulge in the same sensationalism that had marked Elena's public revelations, she needed answers before her life crumbled further. They started with basic online research. Elena Carter's LinkedIn profile read like a polished resume, degrees from prestigious universities, a track record of successful design projects, glowing endorsements. No mention of the scandal, of course. Felicia, who was surprisingly adept at internet sleuthing, dug up older versions of Elena's personal website using internet archives. That's where they struck their first clue. Elena had once gone by the name Elena Cordoba, not Carter. It wasn't a secret per se, but the abrupt name change a few years prior was curious. Using a network of acquaintances, Felicia connected them with a freelance investigative journalist, Miriam Fuentes, who specialized in business controversies. Miriam agreed to help for a small fee, which Felicia insisted on covering. "I'll spare no expense if it means getting to the truth," Felicia had said, her voice unwavering with loyalty to Lily. Soon, more pieces of Elena's puzzle came to light. She had left her home state after a messy breakup with a wealthy fiancé, rumored to be Jonathan Maxwell, a real estate mogul in Texas. There were whispers that Elena had threatened to release compromising photos of Jonathan if he didn't meet certain financial obligations. The entire ordeal had been hushed up before it could make major headlines. But digital footprints rarely vanish completely. Armed with this knowledge, Lily felt a spark of hope. Was Elena repeating the pattern, targeting successful men, leveraging intimate details for personal gain or revenge? If so, Daniel might be just the latest in a string of conquests. Yet Lily wasn't sure if this absolved Daniel of guilt or condemned him further. If he had truly succumbed to Elena's manipulations, that meant he'd betrayed Lily and their unborn child. While Lily wrestled with these revelations, Daniel faced a storm at Waypoint Solutions. His official statement denying Elena's claims had done little to quell investors' nerves. Elena's persistent social media jabs painted him as a liar. The tension drove him to seek Lily out for help, or at least emotional support. But Lily, newly galvanized by her discoveries, was done playing the victim. She demanded full honesty. If he wanted her help in clearing his name, he had to show her everything: emails, texts, bank statements, hotel receipts. She insisted on the truth, no matter how ugly. Daniel hesitated. His reluctance only fueled Lily's suspicions. He eventually handed over partial records, claiming the rest were on secured corporate servers. The gap between what Lily saw and what Daniel refused to show was a chasm wide enough to bury a marriage in. Feeling cornered, Daniel made a gesture of goodwill. He agreed to speak with Miriam Fuentes to clarify his position. But was that a genuine effort to clear the air, or simply another tactic to control the narrative? Outside, autumn leaves danced along Maple Falls' tidy sidewalks. The season's gentle shift contrasted starkly with the turbulence inside the Harrington household. Secrets, half-truths, and silent accusations swirled in every conversation, every glance. If there was any chance to salvage their future, Lily had to keep digging. The answers she found in the shadows of Elena Carter's past might hold the key not just to exposing Elena's motives, but also to unearthing Daniel's darkest confessions. Lily was taken aback when she received a discreet message from none other than James Thompson. He requested a private meeting away from the prying eyes of the office and the Harrington home. They settled on a small cafe in a tucked-away neighborhood of Seattle, one that Lily used to frequent for its exquisite pastries. She arrived early, nerves on edge, scanning the cafe's warm interior until James walked in. Dressed in a casual blazer and jeans, he looked every bit the tech entrepreneur, but his eyes held a seriousness that hinted at deeper concerns. After ordering coffee, they chose a table near the back, far from the rest of the patrons. James leaned forward, voice hushed. "I'm worried about Daniel," he admitted. "His decisions lately, they haven't been logical. I suspect he's in deeper trouble than we realize." This wasn't mere speculation. James possessed sensitive information from the company's financial systems, some irregular transfers, unexplained expenses. While he couldn't prove anything yet, the numbers seemed to suggest that Daniel might have been funneling money into a private account, possibly for Elena. Lily's heart lurched. Had Daniel been buying Elena's silence? Or was he simply lavishly spending on her? The revelation bruised Lily's already wounded heart, but it also sharpened her determination. Her voice trembled only slightly as she asked, "Why are you telling me this?" James glanced around, ensuring no one was listening. "Because I believe you deserve to know the truth. And Waypoint Solutions can't afford any more scandals. If Daniel is compromised, I need to protect our employees, our investors. And honestly, you too." The conversation was sobering, but it also gave Lily a crucial piece of the puzzle. She considered telling James about Elena's murky past, but held back. For now, she wanted to keep that card close to her chest. Still, she felt a reluctant gratitude toward James. He was the first person in Daniel's inner circle who seemed willing to help her uncover the full story. Before leaving, James handed Lily a small USB drive. "There are some documents here that might help you understand what's going on. They're not entirely conclusive, but it's a start. Use them carefully." That evening, Lily pored over the files in her study. her stomach twisting. Bank transfers to an account in Elena's former hometown, unexplained invoices labeled consulting fees, and personal expenses charged to Waypoint's business account, fine dining, luxury gifts, even expensive jewelry. The amounts were staggering. One line item struck her, a transaction for emerald earrings, the same style as the earring Lily had found in Daniel's car. Bitterness flooded her as she realized that might have been the matching pair. The betrayal weighed heavily, no matter how often she told herself it was just money. She was too far along in her pregnancy to endure this amount of stress comfortably, yet she couldn't abandon her mission. If Daniel and Elena had conspired to bleed company funds or hide an ongoing affair, the truth had to come out. At the same time, Lily noticed anomalies in the timeline. Some expenses predated Elena's involvement at Waypoint, which suggested Daniel may have had a separate life well before Elena arrived on the scene. Could it be that Elena was simply the tip of the iceberg, or a catalyst exposing secrets that had been hidden for years? Sleep offered no solace. Lily's dreams were haunted by cryptic bank statements and images of Daniel and Elena wrapped in a dark embrace. Yet in the midst of that restless night, she felt a flicker of resolve. She was pregnant, abandoned emotionally, but not powerless. She knew she had to take the information further, to piece together enough evidence not only to confront Daniel, but also to end Elena's public crusade. Tomorrow she would set a new plan in motion, one that would bring her face to face with her greatest fears and potentially set the stage for the explosive final act that no one, not even Elena, could see coming. Lily didn't expect to see Elena standing on her front porch on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Yet there she was, lithe and poised under a black umbrella, hair styled impeccably as if the drizzle hadn't dared to touch her. Lily's heart seized. She almost considered not answering the door, but a strange compulsion drew her forward. Clutching the doorknob, she opened it just enough to peek out. "What do you want?" Lily's voice was terse, her pregnant belly making it nearly impossible to conceal her trembling. Elena offered a half smile. "We should talk." Lily's first instinct was to slam the door. But if she hoped to end this nightmare, maybe a direct conversation could yield answers. With reluctant resolve, she stepped aside, allowing Elena entry. They moved into the living room, the tension so thick it seemed to muffle the steady patter of rain on the windows. Elena's gaze swept across the room, lingering on framed wedding photos, tasteful decor, signs of a life built on illusions. Her lips curled in mild amusement. Nice place. Very domestic. Lily folded her arms over her swollen belly. "Say what you came to say," Elena began with a theatrical sigh. "Daniel's in over his head. He made promises to me, big ones. Now he's trying to wiggle out of them. I'm sure you've heard about my posts. I have more proof, more details. If Daniel thinks he can discard me and salvage his reputation with some half-hearted denial, he's wrong." A rush of protective anger surged through Lily. "You think you can just tear apart my marriage and get a cash payout? That's what this is about, isn't it?" Elena's eyes flashed with something akin to indignation. "You're so quick to judge. But you don't know him like I do. The secrets he keeps, trust me, I'm doing you a favor by exposing him." Lily's breath caught. The conversation was teetering between confrontation and revelation. "What do you mean?" Elena locked eyes with her, the corners of her mouth tightening. "I was never the first. Check his financials, check the hush money he's paid out to other women. You think this is just me? You're wrong." The implications stunned Lily into silence. Could Daniel's history of deceit stretch even further? She recalled the suspicious bank statements that predated Elena's arrival, her unsettled sense that something else lurked beneath the surface. Seeing Lily's expression, Elena continued, I don't want to destroy you, Lily, but I refuse to let him destroy me first. Despite her anger, Lily sensed a spark of genuine resentment behind Elena's theatrics. Perhaps Elena believed Daniel had wronged her or deceived her just as he had deceived Lily. A twisted bond of betrayal linked them. But Lily also recognized Elena's manipulative streak, which aimed to keep her in control of the situation. I have nothing more to say to you, Lily said finally, her voice trembling with pent-up fury and heartbreak. Get out of my house. Elena rose, umbrella in hand. She paused at the door, turning once more to face Lily. I'm releasing more information soon. If Daniel won't own up, I'll make him. And if you think this is hurting you now, just wait. It's about to get worse. Then she was gone, footsteps echoing on the porch as she disappeared into the rain. Lily stood there, breath shallow, her mind spinning. For the first time, she felt a tiny trace of sympathy for Elena, but it was drowned by a tidal wave of fear for what was coming next. This confrontation had given Lily a horrifying glimpse into the full scope of Daniel's lies and the growing certainty that a far darker unveiling was on the horizon. In the wake of Elena's visit, Lily found herself in a race against time to uncover the truth before Elena's next public strike. Daniel had grown distant and elusive. He claimed to be working late in crisis mode, dealing with investors and lawyers, but Lily suspected he was simply running from the storm he'd brewed. Desperate for clarity, Lily returned to the USB drive James had given her, searching for anything she might have missed. She discovered a series of encrypted files that she hadn't been able to open before. Armed with some free encryption cracking software and a little late-night determination, she finally managed to unlock the folder. Inside were documents that sent her heart into a spiral of despair. They detailed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements signed by at least 3 different women. Each case was eerily similar: a short affair, a monetary settlement, and a legally binding promise never to reveal the relationship. One name stood out: Marissa Devine. The NDA was dated over a year before Elena joined Waypoint Solutions, when Lily had still believed her marriage was stable. Shock turned to fury. Daniel had orchestrated payoffs to keep these affairs hidden, each time covering his tracks more elaborately. The transactions were masked as consulting fees or charitable donations, funneled through a complex web of shell accounts. Reading through the legal jargon, Lily felt ill. The NDAs contained language suggesting emotional distress and, in one case, the mention of an unplanned pregnancy that was later resolved. Tears blurred her vision as she grasped the extent of Daniel's betrayal. The man she once believed to be her soulmate, the father of her unborn child, was a serial cheater who had mastered the art of hush money. Her hands shook, rage and humiliation swirling in her gut. A single thought propelled her forward. She had to confront Daniel with indisputable evidence. She printed out the documents, laid them out on the kitchen table like a grim tapestry of deceit. When Daniel returned home that night, his eyes were bloodshot from stress and lack of sleep. He barely removed his coat before Lily directed him to the kitchen. "Explain this," she demanded, pointing to the NDAs. Her voice quavered, but her gaze held steady. Daniel paled. He fumbled for words, glancing from one printed page to the next. How did you get these?" he finally managed. "That doesn't matter," Lily snapped. "I want the truth." Cornered, Daniel sank into a chair, head in his hands. Slowly, haltingly, he confessed. Yes, he had succumbed to temptation multiple times. Yes, he had paid these women off. He claimed he never loved them, just lapses in judgment that he tried to contain. Elena, he insisted, was supposed to be just another hush money arrangement, but she refused to sign any NDA. Instead, she was extorting him. Daniel begged for Lily's forgiveness. He promised to do whatever it took to fix this, to prove he wanted a real family with her and their unborn child. But Lily's heart had hardened. His words felt hollow, overshadowed by the staggering depth of his lies. "You've destroyed us," she whispered, voice clogged with tears. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Daniel reached out, but she recoiled. She stared at the man who had once been her partner, realizing that whatever illusions she had about their marriage were gone. In that moment, Lily knew she had to craft her own plan, not just to salvage whatever remnants of her life still had value, but also to protect her child from the ripple effects of Daniel's deception. And with Elena threatening to unleash more revelations, Lily needed a weapon of her own, something that would shift the balance of power in this sickening game. In the days following Daniel's confession, Lily felt numb. Morning sickness returned with a vengeance, fueled by anxiety and heartbreak. Sleep was a scant luxury, her dreams twisted by images of NDAs and sneering, faceless women. She had never felt more alone, nor more determined to fight for her dignity and for her unborn child's future. A sliver of hope arrived unexpectedly in the form of a phone call from Miriam Fuentes, the freelance journalist Felicia had hired. Miriam's voice crackled over the line. "I've uncovered something you might find useful," she said. "It's not just about Elena Carter." That evening, Miriam visited Lily's home, armed with a laptop and folders of documents. Together, they pored over the information. It turned out that Elena had once tried to blow the whistle on Daniel's improper corporate spending, even before she went public with the affair. She had sent an anonymous tip to a financial crimes hotline, including hints at money laundering and stock manipulation. But the investigation never went anywhere, probably because Elena's claims were overshadowed by her own questionable conduct. So, Elena tried a legal route first, Lily observed, scanning an email trail. And when that didn't work, she went public with the affair to get attention. That's the gist, Miriam confirmed. Elena claims Daniel was funneling company money for personal use, beyond just hush money. But so far she hasn't released the hard proof. Maybe it's her bargaining chip, Lily's mind whirled. If Elena had documented more than just an affair, if she had evidence of financial crimes, Daniel could be facing legal consequences, perhaps even jail time. The twisted morality of it all left Lily conflicted. She despised Daniel's betrayal, yet she didn't relish the idea of her child's father in prison. However, she also knew she couldn't let fear paralyze her. She thought back to one detail that had emerged, a single mention in the NDAs about a hidden asset, presumably real estate. Could that property hold crucial evidence? A friend from Lily's design industry mentioned seeing Daniel at a remote lakeside estate months ago, a place Lily had never visited. Rumors suggested Daniel kept that property as a secret retreat, maybe even a love nest. "Miriam," Lily said slowly, "is there any chance you can help me find more information on that property?" Maybe Elena knows something about it. It was a long shot, but Miriam was more than game. "I'll see what I can dig up," she promised. As midnight approached, Lily walked Miriam out. The crisp night air jolted her weary senses. Her thoughts drifted to the baby, kicking softly inside her. She realized that while she felt more alone than ever in her marriage, she wasn't truly isolated. Allies like Felicia, James, and Miriam were rallying around her. That sense of communal support emboldened her to keep fighting. For the first time in weeks, she felt the faintest stirring of control returning to her life. The path ahead was precarious, but Lily sensed a turning point. She wouldn't sit idly by, waiting for Elena's next bombshell or Daniel's next apology. She had to steer this ship before it sank completely, and if that meant risking Daniel's wrath or Elena's cunning, so be it. Tomorrow, she would set out to uncover the truth behind that mysterious property. And in doing so, she might just find the leverage she needed to regain her life or forever alter it in a way no one could predict. A week later, Lily found herself driving along a winding road toward the outskirts of Maple Falls, guided by cryptic directions and half-verified leads from Miriam. The promise of uncovering Daniel's hidden asset spurred her forward, though the entire trek felt surreal. She recalled the early days of their relationship, when she and Daniel would take spontaneous weekend getaways, singing along to the radio with the windows down. Those memories clashed painfully with the present, where she was an 8 months pregnant wife uncovering her husband's double life. The road turned gravel, flanked by towering pines and the faint glimmer of a lake through the trees. When she finally spotted a discreet wooden sign, Lakeview Pines, she knew she was close. Sure enough, a large wrought-iron gate stood just ahead. She killed the engine and surveyed the imposing gate. No keypad, no buzzer, just a padlocked chain. The property seemed deserted. Undaunted, Lily tugged at the lock. It was solid, but the chain itself had a bit of slack. After some trial and error, she managed to slip through the narrow gap, her pregnant belly making it a tight squeeze. She worried about trespassing, but this was her husband's property. She had a right to be here. At least that's what she told herself as she walked carefully down the gravel driveway. Minutes later, the house appeared, a sprawling modern cabin of glass and timber, perched gracefully on the lake's edge. Despite the picturesque setting, a chill draped the air. Lily approached the front door, half expecting an alarm to blare, but when she tried the knob, it turned freely. The door swung open to reveal a silent, immaculate interior. She stepped inside, heart pounding. The living room boasted floor-to-ceiling windows with panoramic lake views, a stone fireplace, and designer furniture that made the place look like it came straight from a luxury magazine. Yet, it felt devoid of life, no personal photos, no small comforts, nothing to suggest a happy retreat. It reminded Lily of Elena's sterile apartment, too curated to be truly lived in. Moving cautiously, Lily ventured into a side room that appeared to be a home office. On the desk lay scattered paperwork, some architectural plans, a few real estate brochures, and manila folders labeled with property addresses. One folder caught her eye, "Backup Confidential." Adrenaline spiked as she flipped through it. Inside were documents referencing offshore accounts, stock transactions under the name of a shell corporation, and more NDAs. If Lily had ever doubted Daniel's capacity for deception, these papers dispelled any lingering illusions. But the biggest shock came when she discovered a USB stick taped beneath the desk. Carefully, she pried it off, her hands trembling. A note in Daniel's handwriting stuck next to it read, "In case of emergency." For a moment, she hesitated, terrified of what emergency might mean. But she pocketed the USB anyway, determined to glean every bit of information she could. A soft noise from the hallway made her heart jolt. She froze, listening. It sounded like footsteps on the wooden floor. Panic seized her. Was Daniel here? Or worse, Elena? Quietly, Lily set the folder down and moved toward the living room. Silence. She peered around a corner, but saw no one. Perhaps it was just the wind, or her nerves playing tricks. With a final glance at the lake's still waters, she hurried outside, certain she'd overstayed her welcome. The drive back felt interminable. Her mind spun with questions. Did Elena know about this place? Was this where they'd met in secret? Or was it simply Daniel's hideaway for shady business dealings? Lily gripped the steering wheel with white-knuckled focus, determined to analyze the USB's contents. She had little inkling that the discovery at the lake house would soon collide with Elena's next big reveal. The fuse was burning down, and the impending explosion threatened to blow their lives apart in a spectacle that Maple Falls and the internet would never forget. When Lily returned home, she wasted no time plugging the USB from the lake house into her laptop. Fear and curiosity battled in her chest. What she found stunned her. more than any bank statement or NDA could have prepared her for. The folder contained a single, large video file labeled Confession. With trembling fingers, she clicked play. The footage opened on Daniel sitting at a desk in what appeared to be the lake house office. He looked disheveled, eyes ringed with exhaustion, wearing the same watch and shirt Lily recognized from months ago, perhaps the early days of the scandal. Daniel leaned toward the camera, exhaling shakily. "If you're watching this, then everything's probably out in the open," he began, voice quavering. "I've made mistakes, big ones. It started as a single lapse in judgment. One fling I told myself wouldn't matter, but it spiraled. I paid people off, hid the truth. I thought money could cover my tracks. I was wrong." He ran a hand through his hair, grappling with emotion. "I never wanted to hurt Lily or our baby. I love them, but I couldn't stop. The thrill, the escape, it was addictive. Then Elena came along. She found out about my finances, threatened to expose me unless I left Lily. I couldn't do it, so she demanded hush money. This time, it wasn't so simple. She wanted more, a piece of my company, a share of my life. In the video, Daniel glanced away, eyes misting. If I vanish, it's because I can't face what I've done. Or maybe because Elena finally decided to take her revenge. I don't know who I am anymore, or if there's any way to fix this." He paused, swallowing hard. "But Lily, if you're the one watching, please believe this. I love you. You deserved better from me." The screen went dark. Tears slipped down Lily's cheeks as she watched Daniel's raw confession. For all his failures, his arrogance and deceit, there was an anguished sincerity in that moment, an admission that he was trapped by his own flaws. She replayed the final words, letting them wash over her. Part of her still longed to believe in redemption, but the weight of everything he'd done hung like a chain around her heart. Before she could fully process the video, her phone buzzed. A message from Felicia popped up. "Elena just went live online with major sips. You need to see this." Lily's pulse soared. Elena was launching her next attack, likely the damning evidence she'd teased about. But now Lily had her own bombshell, Daniel's confessional video. Would it save him or seal his fate? Rushing to open her social media, Lily saw Elena streaming from what looked like a lavish hotel suite. She brandished screenshots, recorded phone calls, bank statements. The audience swelled to thousands within minutes, each comment more frenzied than the last. Elena was stoking the fire, implicating Daniel in fraud, deceit, everything. Lily realized that this moment was her crossroads. Daniel's confession could either be hidden away, used as leverage, or posted publicly to show Elena's manipulations and Daniel's regret in unfiltered detail. But if she uploaded the video, there was no going back. It would light a fuse that could set off an avalanche of repercussions. The scandal would intensify, overshadowing even Elena's revelations. Yet Lily had no illusions anymore. She was done playing defense. With the baby's due date looming, she had to choose her family's future over the shame. Daniel might be beyond redemption, but perhaps, with the truth out there, Lily could carve out a path free of blackmail and half-truths. With a shaky breath, she prepared to do the unthinkable. She began uploading Daniel's confession to the same social media platform Elena was using. The world was about to witness a showdown of epic proportions, one that would culminate in Daniel's sudden and mysterious disappearance. As Lily's upload inched toward completion, she watched Elena's live stream in real time. The comment section scrolled too fast to read, filled with accusations, shock, condemnation, and the occasional trollish remark. Elena fed off the attention, her voice dripping with triumphant malice. Then, almost abruptly, Elena's tone changed. She paused mid-sentence, tapping her phone screen in apparent confusion. The chat erupted with messages. "Daniel Harrington confession video." People were posting a link, Lily's link. In seconds, Elena realized she was no longer the only one controlling the narrative. Her smirk wavered, replaced by fury. "Seems Daniel's desperate. she sneered, trying to regain composure. "Whatever video you're seeing, don't let it fool you. He's only coming clean because he was caught." But her words sounded hollow. The comments section flooded with reactions to Daniel's raw confession. At home, Lily's phone nearly slipped from her trembling hand as notifications swarmed her screen. The video was viral. Thousands of views turned into tens of thousands within minutes. Shock, sympathy, anger, it was a tidal wave of emotion. Daniel Harrington's confession trended worldwide, overshadowing Elena's carefully orchestrated revelations. People debated whether to vilify him or pity him. Meanwhile, Lily stood by helplessly, wonder mixed with dread. An hour later, the calls started, from reporters, from gossip columnists, even from talk show hosts. Everyone wanted an exclusive. Lily ignored them all, focusing instead on a single thought. Where was Daniel? He hadn't been home for days, claiming to be working non-stop. But now, with the confession exposed, he was unreachable. His phone went straight to voicemail. James Thompson called Lily in a panic, saying Daniel hadn't shown up at the office that morning. Even the security cameras at Waypoint Solutions offered no clues Daniel hadn't set foot on the premises for nearly 24 hours. By nightfall, the internet was ablaze with theories. Some insisted Daniel had fled the country, absconding with millions. Others claimed he was in hiding at the lake house or holed up in some five-star hotel. Conspiracy rumors circulated about shady investors who might have disappeared him. A smaller group speculated that Elena was behind it, that in her rage she had taken drastic action. Lily stood in her living room, tears threatening to spill. Despite the anger and betrayal, she couldn't shake her worry. Daniel's final words in the video suggested he might run away or worse, harm himself out of guilt. She pressed a hand over her swollen belly, heart pounding with an urgent maternal protectiveness. She might hate him for what he'd done, but she also feared for his life. Days stretched into a week. The police opened a missing persons case. They scoured the lake house, interviewed Elena, questioned employees. Daniel seemed to have vanished without a trace. No suspicious charges on credit cards, no sightings that panned out, no cryptic notes. While some people believed the disappearance was a strategic move, Lily felt an ache that refused to subside. Her unborn child would be brought into a world forever marred by unanswered questions. What had really happened to Daniel Harrington? In the end, the $1 million scandal ended with a single question mark. The mistress who had exposed him, once so triumphant, found her star burned out as public interest shifted to the mystery of Daniel's fate. Lily, thrust into an unwanted spotlight, discovered a strange kind of freedom in the aftermath. With every day Daniel remained missing, she began rebuilding, forging a sense of independence fueled by heartbreak and newfound resilience. All that was left was a story that would live on in tabloids, forums, and small talk around Maple Falls for years to come. The mistress posted their affair online, but the pregnant wife uploaded a video that made the millionaire vanish. No one could say if Daniel would resurface to atone for his sins or remain a phantom of scandal forever. And though Lily could not forget the sting of his betrayal, she found solace in the first cries of her newborn child months later, deciding that some mysteries were better left unsolved as life carried on with or without the man who had once captivated her world. Thank you for watching and journeying through the twists and turns of the mistress posted their affair online, but pregnant wife uploaded a video that made the millionaire vanish. This roller coaster tale of betrayal, secrets, and desperate choices reminds us how quickly a picture-perfect life can unravel when hidden truths come to light. In the end, Lily found a way to rise above the rubble, discovering her strength in the most impossible of circumstances. If you enjoyed this dramatic saga and want more immersive stories filled with suspense, heartbreak, and redemption, please show your support by hitting like, sharing this video, and subscribing to our channel. Your feedback inspires us to bring you even more compelling narratives that explore the depths of human nature. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, sometimes the most shocking secrets hide in plain sight. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.